am here to talk about my research in Timbuktu, Jene, and Gao, which were central cities in the Kingdom of Mali and Songhai. I had the great opportunity of visiting Morocco in the filming of this project. I had the good fortune to visit Marrakesh in the process of producing this documentary, because, of course, the relationship between Morocco and Songhai was very important in the history of Africa. As you may be aware, Morocco had especially the Saadin dynasty, had a definitive interest in Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. Mali, of course, became a very large and very successful and powerful empire, and did not have the kind of conflicts with Morocco that either Ghana, which came before Mali, or Songhai, which came after Mali. But at the moment when the Songhai Empire was on its decline, the empire in Morocco was on the rise. And so I had the opportunity to try to capture this moment on film. So I had this opportunity to come to Marrakesh to film the great markers and monuments to this moment in Morocco and its relationship to its very intimate relationship with the Sudan of antiquity, not the Sudan of today. And so I look forward to that. This has been a very enlightening conference for me, because the discussions around identity and race are central to my research. And it's been impressive to see such an open dialogue about these issues in Morocco, in Rabat, at this wonderful university, which I didn't know of its existence before, but I'm actually quite impressed with the structure and the depth of the intellectual dialogue. You have here an international conference with people from France, the United States, and other parts of Africa. So that's my intervention. I hope it can satiate the interest of such a distinguished group. The name of the documentary is Before Things Fell Apart. Most of my research is on race and modern society. So it begins in the 1500s and comes up into today. However, I had a great need to show Africa before there was race, before Europeans came to have this kind of imperial domination of the African continent, and to show some of the interactions in Africa, some of the cultural exchanges which were happening in Africa, and the kind of rise and importance of Islam in spreading education, and a kind of a renaissance, in a way, of Africa that Islam brought to the continent. And so, usually, I mean, I live in the U.S., and Islam doesn't get a good rep in the U.S. And so this documentary is a way of countering this negativity by showing some of the real history of Africa. Yeah, this is a history of one of the least known kind of periods. Usually when people talk about great kingdoms of Africa, you hear them talking about Egypt, you hear them talking about Ethiopia, sometimes you hear them talking about Nubia. But to recognize the importance of one, Morocco, in its international scope, in its kind of relationship with Europe, but also its relationship with the rest of Africa, and to look at the kingdoms of Mali and Songhai and see that these were not places just isolated in Africa, but they did commerce all over the world. I mean, Mansa Musa, who was the very famous king in Mali, he made a very important pilgrimage when he made the Hajj, and he circulated throughout Africa as a way of spreading the word about what was happening in this area of the world at that time. So in some ways, we're trying to counter that narrative that Africa was somehow a dark continent, because we're trying to suggest that Africa was never a dark continent, that just the opposite is what we see, is that Africa had relationships all over the world. Europe had to forget the importance of Africa. It had to forget its interaction with Africa in order to justify enslavement and colonization.